This is my office. Isn't it nice? I'm in my mom's closet today. But actually, maybe it's my closet too. I guess we can say that. I don't want to talk too much about it, but yeah, I'm going to be recording in here now because it's getting cold and I'm not a cold person. I love Texas because it's hot. I can't be out there when it's cold. With that, we can use it as a transition to talk about being particular. I know that that's not a very particular thing, but just going to take it. I wanted to talk about being particular because I realize that a lot of people can't just accept that being particular is, it should be a norm. But the nature of being particular is that it's not the norm. It's not in the group. I was looking over some definitions that I had a friend help me write out. I'll just show you the handwriting that I'm reading from. I think it's pretty good. I can read it, you know? And there are several definitions here.
The first definition, these are just common definitions, by the way. These are adjectives first. To be particular, or an adjective, sorry. To be described as particular is of or relating to a single or specific person, thing, group, class, occasion, etc., rather than to others or all. Special rather than general. So there's that.
Another one.
Immediately present or under consideration in this specific instance or place. Okay.
Another one.
Or different from others, or from the ordinary, noteworthy, marked, unusual.
Another one.
Exceptional or is special. So we have, anyways.
Another one.
Being in such an exceptional degree. Dealing with or giving details such as an account or description of a person, detailed. Exceptionally select, attentive, or exacting. Fastidious, fussy.
Now here's my favorite part. The way it's used in logic, philosophy, math, anything where it's part of the language to describe something in a set. I'm just going to read the definitions. So, if you haven't got it by now, particular is basically within a group. A particular is something that stands out of that group. The way that I thought of it was, I don't know, I think it's because I watched College Humor a lot growing up. Not a lot, but I watched it at a certain point where I was scared to be called particular. I was scared to even use it on myself. There are a lot of facets of being particular in this world. It is to benefit you. However, on the flip side, there's to be peculiar, and I don't have the definitions written because I didn't have time for that, but I did look it up earlier and I can throw up the definition here. To be peculiar is to have traits of an exclusive group. So it's similar to being particular, except instead of it being to exclude from a group, it's to be included a group. So it's almost like it's hard to describe. That's why I always have my teaching tools available. And the reason why I said I like the logic definition is because we go over this. We go over this in logic. We went over this in Foundations of Mathematics when I was in that class for 3 weeks. But here, let me try and draw it like this. Ah! Ah! Okay, so that's not gonna work.
Okay. So
you can have, in this Venn diagram, you have two groups, all right? And they may intercede in this group, all right? Or intersect. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I haven't been in class for a while. And let's call this group B. All right, wow. There are many ways something can be classified. It can be part of group A, part of group B, or part of group that is A and B. The way it would be written is it could be written as this, or it can be written as this. Okay? I don't know which one's which. I didn't take foundations of mathematics. I will brush up on it. A particular is when you are describing one of these points in any given group, whether it is in group A union, or A intersect B, A union B, or if it's just in group B. In philosophy, when talking about virtue ethics, a virtuous person would be someone who does not decide things based on general rules as a deontologist would, or someone who determines something based on numbers, because these are general rules. But a virtuous person would look at the particular case, the trolley dilemma, where there is one person on one track or 5 people on another track, and the trolley is on track to kill the 5. A virtuous person would not really be able to answer that question. They would need the details. And I know that sometimes people are like, you can't have all the details that you would see in The Good Place. You don't, they show how you don't really get all those answers. It's quick. You have to decide quickly. So yeah, sometimes being a virtuous person is tedious, because you have to consider the particulars. But when you are someone who has values set, particular cases can't be that difficult. It will still take time, always it will take time, but decision making is not difficult. I'll give you an example of that in my own life. I'm a Christian. I believe what I'm doing is for the good of the kingdom and for the good of those who are to hear the truth. I know what it takes for me to get to where I was, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I cannot exclude anybody from having an opportunity to know God for anything that I can't control or I may not be aware of. So I do my best to be as patient with people as possible. And patience is something I value so much now, especially after a year of learning what it means to be patient. There was someone who I was planning to do ministry work with. They didn't value patience as much as I did. And I can understand how, there's discipline and then there's patience and then there's a balance. And I think that in specific works of ministry, that balance is determined, sort of. With what I'm doing, I value patience a lot more in the beginning stages than discipline. It's kind of like when you're raising a child. You can want to instill discipline in a child, but if you can't be patient with them, you can't teach them as much as you want, because you're giving up too quickly. But that's just how I see it. Examples of me being particular outside of that one case. At first, I was so obsessed with pecans that I would make such a huge deal about it. I would say that all nuts are inferior to pecans. That's me being stupidly particular. But I was trying to exude just being exclusive and being proud of being exclusive, being proud to be of an exclusive group, because that's no longer being particular. That's being peculiar. And this was something I actually wanted to get to. In the Bible, Peter writes about how we are to be a peculiar people. This is in 1 Peter chapter 2. But he says, you are a chosen people. And I cross-examine that with Deuteronomy 7. You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are a people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. I think it's important to understand that as Christians, we aren't called to be particular for the sake of being particular. When you are called to be a chosen, when you're a chosen people, which means that you've heard the word of God and you've decided to live by it. You've decided to live by the Spirit to lead you. You don't go by the flesh. You don't go by the culture. You go by the peculiar, the group that you have now been included in that is exclusive. You were once not his people, but now you are. You once was shown no mercy, but now you have mercy. There's a contrast, there's a shift. The way I dress, for instance, it's not really religious related. I'm someone who's not into all the religiosity of things. I think that that's a high waste of time when people get caught up in that and not how they live their life. So for instance, me covering my head, right now it's just because I don't want my hair color to show up. But if I was to wear a covering, it has nothing to do with my faith. I understand Muslims do this, but being a Christian, and if I was to wear it like this all the time, it is not because, oh, I'm seeking Allah now. There are customs that are built into religions because it has helped with spiritual practices and being more in tune with your spirit. But that does not suddenly exclude me from being religious if I decide now, oh, I'm not wearing it anymore, or there's pressures that's changed your mind. There are a lot of things you can learn from not just being particular, but to be peculiar. Be a part of something. Don't just stand out for the sake of it. So that's what I wanted to say today. Okay, bye!